Welcome. It is the Ball at All Cost podcast and YouTube channel. We're back again. I've got a confession to make. This is episode 4. It should be episode 5. We did have a fantastic episode last week, but somebody, somewhere, somehow didn't want it to come out because we had a bit of audio issue on a fantastic guest that we had last week. So we're going to have to rerun that, run it back, and we'll bring you that episode even better in the forthcoming weeks. So watch out for it and apologize again. We apologize again for not being here last week for you. Hopefully it led you to the other episodes you've missed and you caught up. And now you're up to date. And this is episode 4, and we're going to touch on safeguarding. But before we move into it, and I introduce the rest of the guys, you know what to do on the YouTube. Subscribe, like, hit that notification. Yeah, all of that, and leave a comment afterwards. And if you're listening on the audio, like and leave a review. Okay. So you know what to do. It's just Ball at All Cost, YouTube and podcast. So we're available for you. This evening, we have Dan, aka Just a Dad. He's going to be the star of the show. And Deji Spurs. Evening, brothers. How you doing?
Not bad. I'm good. You?
Good, thank you. Good. I'm looking to get into this one because, and I'll tell you for why, we chose safeguarding this week because it's topical. Even the incident we touched on a couple of weeks ago with the Kent situation, that's safeguarding. It really is all safeguarding. But Daniel, or AKA Dan, Just a Dad, is our resident safeguarding expert. And Dan, what I want you to tell me, just kick us off with, I'm a new parent, right? I've just taken my 5-6-year-old over to a club, any grassroots league in the UK, and I've walked through the door. I'm ready to sign. What should I expect in terms of safeguarding? What should be in place? Can you summarize from a coaches, from an environment, from an infrastructure? What kind of things should I be looking for?
So let's talk about, safeguarding wise, every club should have like a welfare officer, someone that's in charge or overseeing any safeguarding concerns that may arise in the club, someone you can go to. Forget the coaches, forget the manager, forget the secretary. That individual is a point of contact for if any single safeguarding concern you have, that's who you go to. I don't know. I can't vouch for all clubs, but there should be safeguarding policies in place, so you understand, which are readily available to parents to look at any time. They can say to you, "Can I look at your policy?" And you go, "Create. Here you go. Here's our policy for what we do here." That will have your procedures, which also include maybe a code of conduct, any whistleblowing policies as well. That includes that as well. So, you might have an issue with a coach that you see coach your son, but you don't necessarily want to tell tell on that coach and say, "Look, if it goes wrong, they're going to hold your son accountable. Then you want us to blame for your son not getting game minutes, and obviously, which may in turn look like bullying." So you should have that. Safer recruitment for all coaches. Every single coach in the FA suggests that it's mandatory. You have to have a DBS, enhanced DBS check. You have to do your safeguarding qualifications, your first aid, and obviously the most important thing is having actual football qualifications that relate to your area of work. Otherwise, what's the point of being a football coach, no qualifications? And again, it's difficult for me. What I see as being quality assured, because I'm pretty sure you up and down the country, all around England, UK, Ireland, wherever you look at it, there's teams and clubs that have coaches that don't have these qualifications. But because parents don't know or don't know how to ask these questions or where to look, these coaches get away with working in environments where ultimately they're not cleared or compliant. They're not fully compliant.
And why might that be the case? I have mine, just saying, hands up. Yeah. So why would a club do that, do you think?
It's cutting corners. Remember, even though if they do a lot of these coach courses for free, you get young boys that are literally 18, 17, some of them are 16, doing coaching kids. And you full well know that their knowledge of football and their level, even the basic introduction coach they haven't got. But coaches or owners of these academies are able to pay these young boys less than minimum wage to come and do sessions for free, literally, or work for 2 hours and they're getting paid £25 for 2 hours work. When you know a fully qualified coach that knows what they're talking about and compliant, and not working for 2 hours for £25.
And just a thought crossed my mind here, and I know we've touched on this in our convos. That 16 to 18-year-old, is it even more vital that they take that course more so than a 35 to 40-year-old coach who's a parent as well, just because they don't have the real life knowledge? They're not parents. They don't have that natural, potentially care, understanding of young kids and their behaviors, etc.
I wouldn't say it's more imperative. I think it, because you could be a 40-year-old man that in the world of knowledge is great, but working with children is not. It's a total different ball game. So I think it doesn't matter what background you're coming from, what level of coaching. These are fundamentals. These are the fundamentals you need, regardless of age or background or experience, because they give you information, they give you indicators, give you what something looks like. What does abuse look like? So in my everyday work, I have adults. I can ask questions. What's abuse look like? What's an indicator? And they couldn't tell me. But if you go on these courses and you have adequate training, the smallest little things create big pictures, and you may identify something that is a concern, regardless of age. So I think these are basically fundamental issues, or fundamental skills you need in working in this environment.
Yeah, and I'll make you right. I've seen it. One thing that I guess for me, I think goes unnoticed is, and the FA course highlights this, is the playing environment, the playing conditions, like what a coach should do, for example, when they get to a ground and they look around once they're setting up their drills, but they have to actually look at the playing area and to make sure it's safe. For example, for the children, that could be dog mess, that could be bottle lids, that could be anything that could cause harm or danger outside of just playing football.
So
Right.
literally, it's a mini risk assessment. So you assess in the
Yeah.
area for any risk to mitigate any possible risk. And our boys are probably lucky enough most weeks to play on 4G pitches where, you know, the surface is great. They're probably gates locked up outside of football games and timing, so there's not much mess on the pitches. But just being aware of what's around you as well, because especially in parks in this day and age, and like you will see the question you ask is, what does an abuser look like? And people will say it's a single male in a corner of a park, on his own with no kids. In actual fact, an abuser can be in anyone in any form. So be aware who's watching this kid. Have you got 10 kids there and every parent is accounted for? Maybe not. Is there a stranger in the corner that maybe, you know, just there watching the game? You, as a coach, you may go to him, oh, we've never seen you here before. Is there a reason why you're here? And we know, he said, no, I'm a scout. I'm watching the game, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And a scout will openly give you his ID and say, look, I work at XYZ.
Or maybe wearing it.
Yeah. Or in most clubs, you know, now they like to brand themselves and you know they're there. But you might get this odd club, and I've been to games recently and someone's approached me that wasn't in uniform, but he was able to show me his club ID, and that's great, fair enough. But you may see an individual that can't produce his information. He doesn't look like a scout. He hasn't got a child there. Why are you actually there? You know, and they're the questions which I think in the UK we're so polite and pleasant. We're scared to ask questions and challenge people. So, but in safeguarding, we have to be the way we have to be. You challenge someone. Don't be scared to challenge someone. There's nothing wrong with asking a question, and that question may protect someone. And that's the biggest thing that I think challenging someone or individuals in certain environments allows you to empower yourself as a parent, empower the club, empower your coaches, obviously children. They feel empowered if they know they can ask questions.
Yeah. No, then funny you say that, and I'm just picking up on something you were saying, and I've got a couple of questions this evening because we've got the Oracle in the room, and I need these questions answered. I think the first question I really want to ask you is: do you feel? I'm somebody that does work with young people, my day-to-day job, and part of me can't help but think, knowingly or unknowingly, do you think the standards have dropped in terms of safeguarding from a parent perspective? What they would allow in a grassroots football team in terms of child safety, as opposed to if they were in a youth club or in a school, I almost feel like there's a bit of a blight to these clubs, and then I have a follow-up question about parents after that. But do you think that parents are almost less
Allowing
likely?
more.
Yeah. You know, they're a bit more lenient in terms of
No, again,
Sorry.
I think a lot of parents, it's crazy to say this, actually feel in fear of challenging these coaches. Yeah, so they think if I speak up and say why are you doing this, it's going to impact their son's game time, impact the involvement of their kids, and what they don't realize that some of these verbal tyrants the children that's actually experiencing is actually abuse. That it's that straightforward, and that is actually a form of abuse, whether they want to admit or understand it or no. Their children have actually been abused right in front of their eyes, and they don't know it or don't challenge it.
I feel they can't challenge it.
Maybe it's that as well, but again, it's about knowledge. Like if you know what abuse is, yeah, and this is why I feel I'm a great advocate for parent workshops. Yeah, so as much as we talk about coaches doing these workshops and these training, like I'm a great advocate that parents need to do workshops. Yeah, one, to set expectations what the club want from the parents. Okay, because safeguarding is not just about the coaches or the kids; it's about everyone. Everyone attached to that club has a safeguarding responsibility, regardless of their role. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel, and I deliver. So this is not about me. Obviously, I deliver workshops that actually highlight expectations, what you should expect, what you as a parent you should do, and what you should be expected from the club as well. I think you're right. If it was at school and a teacher spoke to your child in front of you in that way, you would challenge the teacher. You go to the head teacher and say, "I'm not happy with this. What is going on?" Okay.
Yeah.
And again, because it's football, and these boys play for quite elite grassroots teams, and there's always there's a chance that my son may get scouted, or this coach likes my son. If I talk up, he might like him anymore. It means you won't play. I think again, it's like you said, they get an allowance, they get a blight, because in the normal world, away from football, you would not let no man, animal, woman, anyone talk to a child in that way without being challenged or told about themselves.
So it's the rush, it's the race to academy, or the desire to have your child playing in academy, getting scouted to play in academy. This looks like a pathway. So you then become complacent, ignorant, biased, or whatever the correct word is, to allow direct, indirect, subtle abuse. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's like the cut of it is they become blind. It's not ignorant. They become blind. They turn a blind eye. They don't want to see it. They pretend it didn't happen. Yeah. And on top of that, these coaches that have aspirations to move on from grassroots coaches and go into an academy game wouldn't talk to academy players that way.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be allowed to.
But they swear. Are they allowed to swear in academies?
No, you can't swear at grassroots. You shouldn't.
No, I know you can't swear at grassroots. I'm just putting it out there. Can you swear at an academy? Because a lot of the times, sorry to cut you, but a lot of the times, what these coaches do, they try and say, this is what will happen when your boy goes to an academy. And if you don't have the experience of being in an academy, then you almost believe it, right? So that question was a kind of a loaded question, because I know the answer, but just for parents out there to understand that they don't swear in academies, so they shouldn't be swearing at grassroots, I guess is my point.
100%, 100% not. And that is it's just, so if your boy, for example, is, let's look at one of the Arsenal right now. Sorry, it's not a club thing, but let's look at clubs that have a lot of youth boys playing around the first team. Okay, so if you're not 18, okay, your boy says we're gonna go. Your coach calls you, the manager calls you and said, "Look, we love your boy. The next pathway for is come play with the first team and train with us." That's great. You're like, wonderful. But in the background, the safeguarding team manager of that club will contact you, explain that due to the environment, okay, because you're working with men and adults, there's going to be different changes in terms of language and behaviors. Yeah, and that's working when they're transferring from the youth system into the first team with 23s, where obviously you're dealing with men and not children. So you're going to get different vocabulary and different languages, but the parents are made aware of that, and it's kind of not a wafer, but an understanding that you're saying, look, my son's in this environment. I understand that it's not the same as youth coaching. It's going to be exposed to different things. Okay.
You see that, Dej? That's the knowledge we need. You're right. He's the oracle. And sorry, Dan, I'm going to cut you there. You know why? You said it's not about you, but it is about you. And it's about I'm hiring you out. So any club that want a safeguarding workshop for their parents, contact us and we'll get man, aka just
that's management team. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, we're just bringing it. Listen, why not? It's a fantastic point you made. I know I cut your flow, and I'm sorry about that, but I think it's important that hey, this is a service that we're trying to offer parents, right? It is bands, it is not, but it's knowledge. We want to share our knowledge. You've got actual knowledge, you've got qualifications in this thing, right? And I think it's important that we're sharing this information and that you're speaking and dropping like knowledge. Like I didn't know that about a phone call. I did not know that. Like that's news to me, but it makes perfect sense, right? Other parents are not going to know this information. So seriously, if you're thinking about doing workshops, Dan, I think you should pursue it. And guys, if you want that kind of workshop, maybe contact us and we'll see if we can get Dan to your club.
No, 100%. Like I do workshops, I do policy writing, so all those things there are available. Obviously, I'm here. Like it's not easy out there. If you don't know, you only know what you know. Yeah. And if you don't know something, how you gonna learn? And these are ours and your children. So what you can't. It's not left for trial and error. You need to get it right.
100%. Dan, I was just going to follow up. So we've talked a lot about the kind of what seems to be it's quite a high bar, but unrightly so in terms of clubs and the safeguarding policies. And I think I for one will be going back and checking that all of those things are in place. You got me thinking about, do even clubs have the basic first aid kits and stuff like that? We're talking about children's safety here. And I think, God forbid, that's why you have insurance. If something doesn't happen, then we need to know and be sure that the clubs have things in place to be able to keep our children safe. But I also want to kind of pivot slightly now because we focused on coaches, but I don't think parents are off the hook here. No. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially in grassroots football, is some parents' conversations, the energy that the parents are given. First things first. I'll give you an example. My son is quite short, and sometimes there are young boys who are 6'4". For all intensive purposes, they are Goliath, and he's David. And I know me. If you're asking me to go up against LeBron James and to slide tackle him, it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I already know. So I'm not going to ask my son to slide tackle a giant. It doesn't make sense. But we've got parents making what I would regard as unrealistic demands on their kids in terms of their speed, in terms of their ability, their physicality. We've got parents who during training are wanting their kid not to make any mistakes. They're wanting their children not to make mistakes during matches. And then it's like, you wait till I get into the car. And someone who does youth work, I'm looking at it, and that young person, you can see they're petrified. Some kids even, I would go as far as to say, sometimes can't play a match without looking over at their parent. And that might even be, knowingly, or I'm just saying these are signs. Is there a concern that maybe some parents may be taking this a bit too far? In the way that you want this football thing, you want them to make it into the academy, or you want to push them as far, but in the process, we're taking away the joy. We're stopping them from going to parties. We're stopping them from going out. You're shouting at them for having a bad game, which can happen to anyone. I mean, professionals have bad game. Are we in danger of maybe parents in the main? No, and I think they need to hear this, that maybe they're walking on a thin line where they might tip into, you are damaging your child. You are, maybe mentally, and this could be, if this was another walk of life, this would be a safeguarding concern.
So for a bit of ramble. No, so that there looks at healthy support versus pressure. Yeah. So you have healthy support, where you're gonna have the opportunity to give criticism, and sometimes that's just part and parcel of life. If you walk around and tell your child how great they are and how wonderful they are, nothing's ever go wrong, what they're gonna learn from that? Yeah, and that's a healthy support, given the right constructive information that they can take away. And as they get older, the IQ allows them, especially in sporting arenas, to understand where they need to improve. Then you look at the other side of what you're talking about, I guess, is pressure, the real pressure, where the kids are scared to express themselves because that might mean losing the ball, making a mistake. Yeah, and long term,
and getting blasted by
Yeah.
mummy or daddy on the sideline who are going to go vex. And you know, when you get into the vehicle or when you're getting into the bus, they're gonna rip you a new one.
And you're saying that, but I guarantee we've been around parents that literally don't get back to the car and they start having that respectful sideline behavior where, like you said, the shouting at the coach, the shouting at that coach, bring my son on, why are you taking him off? Or, you know, having a go at the son, like run faster, what you doing, tackle, what is that? And you know, I guess I'd be lying if I said I'm a saint and I've never done that. I looked at my son in a certain way because I'm not. I'm only human. Yeah, I'm openly honest to say that I know where I'm open to. I know where the boundaries are. Yeah, I know what my son is able to absorb in the game, and I know where in life what to do. And that it's not about me. It's my time's come and long gone. It's not me playing football, so I can't live. And I think we're talking about parents as well that try and live their footballing aspirations for their children
vicariously through their children. Yeah.
And that's a massive concern because your pressures as an adult, you're now putting on a child. Your failures as an adult, you're putting on a child. And as you said, the mental well-being and long-term effects go beyond sport, go beyond football, beyond grassroots, beyond the academy. This affects them later on in social and actual normal life. And what we try and do, regardless of aspiration of being a football, is creating well-rounded individuals that can go back in their communities and actually support the communities in positive ways. Yeah, so this is not just about we talk about grassroots football in this pod, and that's great. But ultimately, it's about we want to raise and create strong individuals that are able to go and support their communities, let them down like years beyond where we're here or not.
100%, and I agree. And you know, with me, when I talk about and you know, my son in particular, I'm always saying, you know, push them as far as they can go, and I'm not bothered either way. Although you know, you will be bothered to a certain extent. I did remember having a conversation. I don't know, Andrew, if I even dropped it to you, but I reckon with the level of investment, with the way that parents are on it, you know, some of these children now are training 6-7 days a week. Everybody secretly believes their child is the one and is going to make it. You know, I remember speaking to a professional that said that, you know, there was so much pressure on his friends' kids, you know, at certain clubs. At 14, those kids got released. And now today they can't say boo to a goose. Now, I wouldn't want that for my child. But I am looking around me and I am seeing people, hence the title of our podcast, who literally it is you're gonna ball at all costs. And
yeah.
And I don't know. That feels like a dangerous. I don't know. I'm saying it feels like a dangerous road. And as someone who's a professional and is in that space, should we be mindful of that? I don't want to get to 15 and see a whole bag of young men who are damaged because of the pressure, the shouting, and everything that has happened now. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Dan. I'm just going to add to that. Yeah, I think there's the damaged child or children, but I also think you've got the damaged relationship, which, from a father and a son perspective, and this is not me knocking girls' football, women's football. I'm just saying the bond that a father and a son, because that's not a natural bond, right? That men have to work at that, right? Because we don't give birth, so we don't have that chemical bond. We literally nurture and bring up our boys, and then they start looking up to us because they realize they're going to turn into men, right, one day. So they're like, this is my dad and I want to be like him. I want to do what he does, right? And then you are now that person who's abusing them. So in years to come, when you've damaged that relationship because you've put them in situations where they feel uncomfortable, they feel scared, they feel frightened, they feel not heard, and then they can't come to you and speak to you when they're going through things in their teenage years, whether it be trouble, on the streets, at school, with women, with girls, who do they then go and speak to if they can't speak to their parent because that relationship has been damaged because of football 5-10 years prior? So it's loads of factors in that safeguarding space you're talking about there, Deji. So very important. I'm just going to say, if you listen to this on the podcast, we're not getting paid for this, but Diary of a CEO, is it Steve Bartlett? He interviews Henri, if you haven't heard it, and Henri talks about the relationship he now has with his dad, right? And how he stopped his dad coming to watch him play games because his dad's expectations and pressures on him were so much. Frank Lampard talks about the same thing. Obviously, he doesn't stop his dad coming, but he talks about the pressure his dad put on him. Peter Crouch, so many players talk about it, right? So I think you just touched on a massive element of it. And yeah, sorry, Dan, I cut you in mid-stride, but I just thought that was important, that there are other examples of this, and it does impact the relationship in years to come.
No, I can't. Everything you say, I'm literally going to echo a part, obviously, and maybe looking at that bonding experience. Learning becomes bonding, becomes like a source of conflict between player and parent, and those conflicts go beyond football. They go into real life pressures of what relationships look like. And we talk about these young boys looking up to us as fathers and what it'd be like. So if we're not modeling great behaviors, ultimately they're going to display what we show them. Yeah. And that also goes back to me again with coaches, because we're talking about everything. They need to create a safe environment for our children as well. Yeah. So the way they communicate, the way they carry themselves, they come to games, the way they communicate with other coaches, the referees, the volunteers that do the linos. Like our kids look at the superstars on TV, yeah, and they know they're superstars on TV because they play for their team they support. But as much as they look at us as parents and our dads as role models, they see these coaches that literally are like superheroes to them also. Yeah. And they if they hear a coach act a certain way and their behavior looks like it's normalized, eventually you're going to start seeing these behaviors in our children, which is not acceptable in our households. Yeah. And that's going to become a challenging issue later on, because if you challenge that behavior, they don't get it, because outside the house, at school, at their coaches, they act a certain way. So that seems normal behavior. As young men, that's what we should do. Yeah. And we have to look at our sons in the future and be able to, you can't act a certain way all the time. You have to understand how to be versatile in different environments, read the room, who you're talking to, who you're communicating with, who you're associating with. And if they're getting these wrong ideologies of what men look like now, it's hard battle to come up later on in life when you're trying to say, no, that's not the right thing to do. Because all of them know is just one thing.
Yeah, can I just share a little story? Sorry, Dave. Just going to share a little story. And you mentioned, you and I've heard that phrase from you before, Dan, about fathers being superheroes and their child superheroes, and it's bang on. I'm just going to this quick anecdote. It's my name's Andrew, and all the boys that I coach tend to call me Andrew or Andy, a mixture of both. But one boy recently runs up to me and he's like so attentive, like he's paying, like he listens, he's focused, and he calls me coach. And it took me aback because nobody calls me coach. Although I coach, nobody calls me coach. And it's to your point, Dan, about what you're saying about the coaches become superheroes. They become these figureheads, these leaders, these so much power that they have potentially over these boys, right? That they're hanging on their tender hooks to their every word. And I got called coach and I was like, I am your coach, yeah. But the way he called me coach was just like, yeah. Like if I said to go and run around that block 20 times and collect every rubbish rapper you could find because he's going to get you into an academy, he probably would do it. Well, of course he wouldn't, but he probably would do it. So yeah, there's with great power comes great responsibility. I know that's from a film somewhere, but yeah,
100%. Now, and what I was just going to go on that, and you know, that the power, you're right, the power of the coaches, and I think it's so good that we're having this discussion, because sometimes, you know, personally, I feel like you can concede too much power, but you have to remember that these are your children, and ultimately you know them best, and you want the best for them. Coaches are coaches, and they are good, some better than others, but ultimately they are coaches, and so we can't just fully just hand over the responsibility to a coach. I'm not someone who advocates for that. I think even if you're doing that, you still need to keep your hand or be abreast of what's being taught to your child, or the information that your child's been given. But I just want to touch on one more question as well. And I know that we have a big, we've got a big separate show where we're going to kind of touch on social media in, you know, in the main, and other aspects of social media. But I do want to ask whether you think social media has exacerbated things in this space, because when you're watching the gram, I'm sure we all have it. We're following thousands of kids on the gram personally. In fact, some of them I recognize them, but my child doesn't know them because my child hasn't got the gram. So I'm there walking around going, I know you. I actually, that's all when I
sign my shirt. Sign my shirt.
You're almost like that. But that in itself is, you know, the level of exposure, the pressure, because now you're seeing these kids scoring goals and rare, and now you feel like you need to keep up with the Joneses, maybe. So now you're indirectly inverting that pressure onto your child. See what this child is doing. You need to be doing that. You need to be doing more. You know what I mean? And whether you feel, how much more would you say, how much influence would you say social media is happening? I know it's such an easy question to say. I don't think people appreciate the impact of social media as much as it is, maybe.
For me, Dej, you know what it is? I've spoke to you, we had this conversation. What I'm going to say, you've heard it before, Andrew's heard it before. I want every single parent to listen to this question and just really take a moment to understand what I'm saying. And I'm not downplaying the importance of Instagram coaches and what they bring to the game and everything else. But if you saw that same individual or any person that you didn't know, a man like myself came up to you and said, hi, I'm Dan, aka Just a Dad. Give me your child for an hour, pay me £50, go shopping, I'll be here when you come back. How many of you that? There you go. Yeah?
Hell no.
Yeah. Well, if you did that, I'll raise a safeguarding concern, because I'll be concerned about your parent responsibility, like, and accountability as a child. So what really is a real massive bugbear for me is when you see Instagram coaches and you hear parents say, oh, did you see coach blah blah on Instagram? Is really good. He's got these boys doing twists and turns and beating mannequins and everything else, and he charges £50. I'm gonna go to him, and it gives me now on a Saturday morning to go to Sainsbury's and do the morning shop. In an hour, I could be literally anywhere I want to be with your child if I was a coach. Yeah,
you could be at a border, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that I've got my personal phone, or child on videotape, like doing what I want him to do, wherever I want. Yeah, so I have my personal mobile phone, video phone, taking pictures of your child, which I'm gonna post on the internet for every single person to see. Yeah, I don't know how many coaches ask parents to say, "Is it okay for me to record my session and post it on my Instagram page?" I don't know how many coaches that do that, or how many coaches
you couldn't do that if you were in a youth club or in a school. You could not do that. You could not post a child up.
And just on that
everyday work.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. We're not out there trying to scare parents or anything like that. But what we are doing tonight with safeguarding is we are throwing questions out just to get people to think. Like, we need to think about what we're doing. Sometimes, too often, we just do without thinking. And actually, when I look at my day job and I look at this, that's why I asked the original question, the standards, are the standards lower? You realize that, like, there's a lot of stuff that I let slide. That hell no, I would let slide if it was in any other forum. And it's just sorry, Andrew.
Yeah, no, it's facts. It's facts. Like, you talk about the video, Dan. I'm going to let you get back to that point, but it just made me remember the VO situation, because I always have a problem with the VO, because I think VOs are a great tool, and everybody wants to see their son score a worldie or tip one around the corner from top bins, right? Or a great tackle, great pass. Everyone wants to see that. So I get the use of VO, and I know that it's a great tool for homework, etc. But I think out of courtesy, every team filming or using the VO should actually just ask the question, please, are you okay with us filming the children? Right. And offer a copy of the VO if everybody says yes. And I think they should do that, because there are some children that may have a reason why they don't need to be filmed, or the parents don't want them to be filmed. It doesn't happen often, but you shouldn't just rock up with a VO and start filming children that do not belong to you, or you have no parental guidance or responsibility over.
Yeah.
So just put that one out there.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
No, like in my everyday work, I make my staff members, we get them work phones, and it's very clear that we say we don't take videos, pictures on your personal phone. Yeah, because you don't know what happens. You don't know what happens with that phone. You don't know where it goes, who has access to it. It's just not advisable. And like they said, we're not trying to scare you. It's about raising awareness. Like, and if you don't, unless you know, you don't know. So these are questions that we ask, and we ask each other an answer to provide the information, provide the gems that you guys out here don't necessarily know, that want to know, or don't have the resources or source of where to go and ask. And we're here. I guess we're here every week to supply those answers where we can.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, just finally, just delving into the safeguarding, it's been really insightful as always, learning some new things. What would be, as a parent listening in now, what are the things that you would want them to take away from the conversation today to ensure? What things should you be aware of? Should you go and check, just to make sure, again, and this is what we're doing, let me not waffle on, but what would be the kind of advice to take away?
Summarizing is like, you need to know, are your coaches qualified? Yeah. Are they in the
FA level 1 is not enough.
It is, but it comes with other stuff. It comes with the safeguarding. It comes with the first aid. It's about being compliant. Are they compliant to look after your children in the space they're in at the time they're in? Okay, so are your coaches compliant? That's are they first aid? Have they got safeguarding? Have they got relevant coaching qualifications? Do you know who the welfare officer is for your club? Okay. Do you know how to contact your county FA welfare officer? Okay. So that's a bigger thing. So don't work just your club, because remember, every club is affiliated to an FA. Yeah. If you're not happy with the safeguarding processes at your club, you can go to the county FA. Yeah. So I guess where we live, it's going to be Essex or London. Okay. The other two FAs, depending on what your club's affiliated to, you can go to and say, look, I'm not happy with this. And normally there's one big umbrella, which is the actual FA. So if you're not, they have a safeguarding team that oversee every single incident happens in all levels of football, ultimately funnels back to the FA. So whether it's in Essex, London, Middlesex, Kent, Surrey, all goes back to the same place. And every county have an FA. So do you know your welfare officer of your club? Do you know the county FA welfare safeguarding team? Yeah. Do you feel empowered to raise complaints or concerns? Yeah. So every club ultimately should want you to feel that your children are safe, creating an environment and a culture where your children are not at risk of harm, neglect, or abuse. Okay, and you can do your own research. If you're not sure what abuse looks like, you can go online. You can say, look, what are the triggers? What indicators? What does abuse look like? If your son is always that you think you pay and a subscription fee each month for this football club, but your son every time he goes down is down, low, and anxious. Yeah, there's a reason behind that. Yeah, are you picking up the triggers? So we're going football tomorrow. Are you ready? Are your mood changes? That's an indicator he's not happy. Something's happening that he doesn't want to go football, maybe, but he's scared to tell you. So she's scared to tell you. So we need to figure out and understand what these triggers are and what these indicators look like. Okay. And that. So ultimately, you need to know your wealth officer, the county wealth officer, how you report stuff, who do you report to? Yeah. What other mechanisms are there to report? Yeah. Are your coaches compliant? If they're the 5 things you think on top of your head you can have answer to, yes, then you're in a good place. If you're not sure, you can always ask. Yeah. There's never such thing as a dumb question. We're told this from young. Every question, no question is dumb. There's always a reason for a question. And again, we're here, like, the comments are open. You can ask us questions, and at some point we'll get back to you again. And we offer support. I do workshops, I do policies. I'm happy. Just general conversations. If you're not sure, you can say, look, I'm not sure about something. What's your opinion? Yeah. And my answer,
Go on. Sorry, Dan. Sorry.
My answer might not be what you want to hear, but I'll give you the best answer I can do that's relevant to your situation.
100%.
Deji.
Yes, Andrew.
Sorry. Check this guy out. I just thought, like, look at how impressive that was from him. Like, this whole safeguarding. I thought he was just Dan, aka just a dad.
Yeah.
He's got strings to his bow.
Needs to put down there safeguarding extraordinaire. I'm thinking I might just start my own club at this rate, to be honest with you. No,
You start your club. I'm starting my agency. I'm doing bookings for Dan, aka just a dad. Safeguarding workshops coming your way.
No, Dan, that's big. I mean, look, honestly, with your, and you know, it is. I agree with Andrew. I concur. You know, having your skill set. You know, one of the things that's speaking to you is peace of mind, and ultimately, that's what we want. We want our children to grow up. We want them to have fun and to have peace of mind and to do it the right way. I'm sure all of us have been in situations where sometimes you question, am I doing the right thing? Am I, you know, I forgot how you phrased it, you know, something to do with whether you're putting pressure or you're just healthy, you know, healthy support. Yeah, that was the word that you used, you know. These are all key. People want to know. You know, ultimately, parents, guardians, they just want to do the right thing and make the right decisions. And if you have people like yourself who can help give some guidance with that, then ultimately what we are doing, which you also mentioned, is that the most important thing is we're creating healthy, good young men, women who will contribute positively to society. And I think that should be the focus. Rather than, and if they make it, fantastic, you know, they've made it and they've got over the hurdle. And if they don't, then we know that they've learned skills for life, you know, in this football game. So yeah, no, Dan, I thought that was absolutely awesome. Andrew, that was amazing. And any final thoughts, questions?
No final questions. Yeah, that was amazing, Dan. Like, you impressed me, and we speak about this stuff all day, every day. Inside football, outside football. I just want anybody listening to this, if you're a parent and your child is in, parent or guardian, and your child or children are in the grassroots space or even the academy space, I think one thing I want you to do, and I think we want you to do, is take some of the knowledge and advice from Dan and this word empowerment. I want you to feel empowered to vocalize any concerns you have, research any concerns you may have, speak to somebody else, maybe just a friend, and ask them, does this behavior sound okay if it were in any walk of life outside of where you've experienced it, seen it, overheard it? Challenge, empower yourself, right? Knowledge is power, is what they say. So we've just scratched some of the surface into some of these things. You guys can do your own stuff. You can take your level 1 badge. It touches on some of the things that coaches should be doing, clubs should be doing as a standard. So knowledge is key. Embrace the power, and embrace the power of liking and subscribing. Nice segue there, if I do say so myself. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, leave a comment. Please leave a comment. Challenge Dan, book Dan, leave a review on the pod, and like the pod. I think that's it from me.
Thank you. And on that note, We will wish you a good week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. On that one, have a great week.
Later, guys.